For every program outside of the college football playoff race, Conference Championship Week is the season's defining moment. Hoisting that trophy validates all of the effort in spring practices, summer workouts, and extra training sessions. In today's college football playoff or bust world, it's easy to discount the value of league titles. No matter what the final rankings show, a conference crown is a massive accomplishment. Still, yes, the college football playoff rightfully takes its place in the spotlight. Georgia is aiming to pad its college football playoff resume, while Alabama, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State each enter championship week, hoping to secure a spot in the playoff. What's going to happen? We have the answers, every single one. Hello, friends, and welcome to the season finale of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. But it seems like just yesterday we were starting another college football season with College Football Thursday, and already it's already season finale. It's crazy. Just crazy how time flies. And here we are. College football's Thursday season finale, and no better way to go out as always than championship week. And without any further ado, let's dive right on in. We do it as we always do it, the top 25 action. 8 games, 8 championship games involving top 25 teams. And we're going to start with the game that will take place tomorrow night on ABC. We're going to start with the Pac-12 championship game. The number 10 Oregon Ducks squaring off against the number 17 Utah Utes from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. 8 o'clock, ABC. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe will have the game. Utah opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. So without further ado, let's dive right on in. Oh, all right. Just trying to make sure we have everything set up here. All right. Number 17, Utah picked up a monumental win on national television when it thrashed number 10, Oregon, 38-7 on November 20th to clinch the Pac-12 South. And what a momentous occasion that was for this Utes team. They battled back from a 1-2 start and yet another tragedy with the death of defensive back Aaron Lowe to beat the league's top team and secure a berth in the Pac-12 championship game. Now, tomorrow night's rematch with the Ducks brings the chance for Utah to accomplish something it never has before. This will be the program's third appearance in the Pac-12 title game and provides another opportunity for the Utes to finally break through and stand atop the league. In 2019, these two teams met for the conference title, and Oregon won 37-15. In 2018, Utah lost a crushing 10-3 game against Washington in this spot. The Utes will hope that the third time is a charm and they can stop Oregon from claiming a third consecutive Pac-12 title. While the November 20th loss at Utah doomed the Ducks' chances of making the college football playoff, a Rose Bowl appearance is still hanging in the balance. This is an opportunity for them to show that they remain the class of the conference. And here are the things you need to know for this game. Bullet point number 1, establishing the run. Oregon averaged just 2.7 yards a rush against Utah in the first meeting. If the Ducks are going to win this time around, they need to establish the ground game. They took steps in that regard in a win over Oregon State last week by registering 231 yards on 41 attempts, but Utah's defense kept its stifling pace last week by limiting Colorado to 64 yards rushing and just 148 total yards in a 28-13 victory. Number 2, converting in enemy territory. Oregon made 6 trips into Utah territory during their first meeting and scored only once. The Ducks missed 2 field goals, suffered 2 turnovers on downs, and punted once on their other 5 trips across midfield. Oregon's lone score came on a 36-yard completion from Anthony Brown to Devin Williams on a possession that never reached the red zone. So the Ducks technically ended the game 0 for 3 on red zone trips. It's hard to believe they will be so inept this time around. And number 3, special teams matter. In addition to the 2 missed field goals, Oregon also allowed Utah punt returner Britton Covey to run a punt back 78 yards for a touchdown on the final play of the first half. The play set off a frenzy inside of Utah's Rice-Eccles Stadium and sent the Utes to the half with all the momentum. Establishing the run is a matter of physicality that is difficult to manipulate. But special teams blunders and red zone failures are matters of execution and focus that Oregon will need to correct in order to have a different outcome in the rematch. Oregon won't be the bumbling wreck that it was when these teams met the first time. But it's fair to wonder how motivated the Ducks will be for this game. It's a been there and done that spot for Oregon, which has won the last 2 Pac-12 title games. For Utah, this is a chance to reach a new frontier as it strives for its first conference championship game win. Look for Utah to be the more physical team, conquer the turnover battle, and win a game that will be close until late in the fourth quarter. We know 2 weeks ago, Utah obliterated Oregon 38-7. While that margin was shocking, the result was not. Utah has been the better team since late October, riding a defense that has allowed 4.3 yards per snap during a 5-game winning streak. Oregon, which mustered 85 rushing yards on 20 non-sack attempts in the regular season game, desperately needs its rushing attack to show up in the Pac-12 title game. I'm going with the Utah Utes to win the Pac-12 championship. I got Utah winning the game. Final score, 30-24. Utah knocks off Oregon, wins the Pac-12. Sorry, Eric Carrier, but that's just the way I feel. So not much more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Welcome to championship week, my friend. Number 10, Oregon. Number 17, Utah in the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be a great game. Everything you just said, Anthony Floyo, I 1,000% disagree with you on everything that you just said. Number 1, yes, the first time around, that was at Rice-Eccles Stadium. That was in Utah. This time around, you're in a neutral site. The home advantage is not going to be as prevalent as it was the first time around. Number 2, Oregon has been in this position before. They know what it is to win this Pac-12 championship. And Utah, like you said, they're in it for only the 3rd time. Oregon is a right of state to be in this game. I do believe they will establish the run early. They're going to want to tell Utah that you're not in Rice-Eccles Stadium. And that first time around, you caught us off guard. We're more focused. We're more ready. We're more everything. And yes, Anthony, you just said it. For the winner of this game is the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. And I don't care what anybody says. When you're in the Pac-12 or the Big Ten, that's the ultimate goal to be in. To play in the Rose Bowl, to play in Pasadena on New Year's Day. So no, Anthony, it's not going to be as easy as it looked like in the first battle. And as a matter of fact, I think the Ducks are going to be duck hunting on those Utes because of what happened. They got embarrassed and they got a bitter taste in the mouth. And I know that coaching staff and that whole thing, they probably has hammered it to their boys. Hey, we got beaten down the first time around. Now it's our time to show what we're made of. I think you're going to see a very inspired team. I think you're going to see a very focused team. And I do believe that the Utah Utes might have started a war they might not be able to finish on this one. Totally disagree with everything you just said. I think the Ducks will establish the run early. They'll run it often. And they will run it down Utah's throats the entire night. They are going to be ferocious on defense by trying to limit the ground game, which was what Utah did. And the air attack that they got, you're going to see a lot of zero coverage. You're going to see a lot of blitzing, a lot of things that are going to be different. Utah's in for the fight of their life. Unfortunately, Anthony, you got a very angry Oregon team that might have found themselves in that civil war last week. And we talk about the run attack. I think you're going to see a very strong Oregon team. Plus, they've been in this position before. They know what it is to win the Pac-12 championship. They're gonna do it again. Disagree with Anthony Florio. 34-21. Oregon wins the Pac-12 title. Michael Bullock, welcome to the show. Hate to do it to your brother, but Florio's going with Utah. I'm going with Oregon. First time tonight, bro. You got to break a tie.
And who am I going to go with to break this tie? I'm sorry, Florio. I'm going with Fletch on this one. I'm going with the Ducks. I mean, yeah, the Utah Utes got them the first time around at Rice Eccles Stadium, but this time it's a neutral site, and Oregon's going to want some payback, and I think this is the time they're going to do it. They're going to run it early and often, and they're going to make it very tough for Utah. I mean, it'll be close to the beginning, but I think in the end, Oregon's going to pull away. So I got Oregon winning this one. Florio, it is yours.
All right, that's the Friday game, and now we're going to move on to the Saturday slate of action. And we will start it off with the Big 12 championship game, high noon on ABC, a matchup of the number 9 Baylor Bears versus the number 5 Oklahoma State Cowboys, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, and Molly McGrath, they will have the call. And Oklahoma State opening up as a 5.5-point favorite. MF, it's very simple to say, when it comes to this game, Oklahoma State, they control their own destiny. If they win, are they in, or do they need help?
They're probably going to need help, and it's probably going to – it probably will have to decide on what the other 3 teams are going to have to do. If I'm going to have to say this, they played earlier in the year, and Oklahoma State won the game 24-14. That was earlier in October. October 2nd, these 2 teams went at it, and Oklahoma State walked away with the victory. I think you're going to see almost a similar matchup. And the thing is that for the Big 12, Oklahoma State has to win this game. Because if Baylor wins this, I'm sorry, Big 12, you're not going to have a team in this year's college football playoff. As a matter of fact, the one team that benefits with that would most likely actually be Notre Dame. Notre Dame actually would possibly get in if Oklahoma State falls. So, Anthony Florio, I know you're going to have a very rooted interest. You're probably going to go for, even though I know professionally you might go Oklahoma State, this is the one time where you might want to go Baylor because of the fact if Oklahoma State loses, that is one step closer for possibly Notre Dame to get into the college football playoff. So that is the grand scheme of things. However, going into this game, I kind of feel like right now, this could go either way. This is going to be a shootout. This is going to be high scoring. You're not going to get 24-14 first time around. I think this is going to go higher. And I actually think Oklahoma State has just enough to get to the finish line, punch their ticket, and I do believe they will win this game. But it's not going to be easy, guys. 41-35. 41-35. Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, claims the Big 12 title. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I got to go with Oklahoma State in this one. I mean, this is I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 5.5 point favorite. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a Yeah, personally, I think you want to go with Baylor, but I think professionally, you got to go with Oklahoma State here. I mean, they're just a much better team. So I really got nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Oklahoma State is in good position to make the college football playoff with a win. Coach Mike Gundy has done that with a defense that allows 281.4 yards a game. The Cowboys broke a 6-game losing streak to rival Oklahoma last week and could slide into that 4th playoff spot with a conference championship. Baylor will look to play spoiler under second-year coach Dave Aranda. The Bears rank 8th in the FBS with a rushing offense that puts up 227.4 yards a game. Quarterback Jerry Bohannon with a hamstring remains questionable for the game. The Bears lost in their only Big 12 championship appearance in 2019. The early kickoff makes it a tone setter for championship Saturday. And here are the 3 trends we need to know. The Cowboys have been kind to bettors this season. Oklahoma State is 9-3 against the spread, and that includes a record of 6-1 against the spread with single-digit spreads. The line was 3.5 when the Cowboys beat Baylor 24-14 on October 2nd. Oklahoma State has won the last 2 meetings by double digits, but the series has been relatively even. The Cowboys and Bears have split 12 meetings since 2010. And the Bears are 8-4 against the spread this season under Aranda, and they are 3-1 straight up and 3-1 against the spread as underdogs. The only loss was to Oklahoma State. The 3 things to watch for. 1, will Bohannon play? Aranda has played it coy when discussing Bohannon's status. The junior quarterback missed last week's game against Texas Tech, and backup Blake Sharpen passed for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns in his place. Bohannon was limited to 186 total yards in the first meeting against Oklahoma State, and the Bears averaged just 3.7 yards a carry. Number 2, Oklahoma State playing smash mouth. That's what they did in the last meeting. Jalen Warren had 36 carries for 125 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Spencer Sanders added 76 rushing yards, but he also threw 3 interceptions. Warren averaged 16.5 carries in the Cowboys' last 6 games. This feels like a game where he could have beaten 25 to 30 rushing attempts. This feels like a game where he could have between 25 to 30 rushing attempts, rather. Oklahoma State averaged 3.7 yards per career in the last meeting, too. They just had 30 more attempts. And number 3, chess match. Baylor offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes and Oklahoma State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles are among the 5 finalists for the Broyles Award, which is given to the top assistant coach in the FBS. Knowles won the first battle. What adjustments will Grimes make to get that Bears rushing attack going, especially if Bohannon is out? Oklahoma State has a trio of defensive players with at least 6 sacks in Colin Oliver, 9.5, Devin Harper, and Brock Martin, each with 6. Stat that matters. I mentioned Oklahoma State's third down defense before Bedlam last week, and the Sooners were 5 of 18 on third down. Oklahoma State limits opponents to a 24.7% conversion rate on third down, which is the best in the FBS. Baylor is not that far behind at 12th with a 32.1% rate on offense. Oklahoma State ranks 43rd at 42.7%, and Baylor ranks 54th at 41.6%. Bohannon's status will be a storyline, but it might not matter. Oklahoma State will rely on the running game with Sanders and Warren. Baylor needs to get Abram Smith on track in this one, and they will show a few new wrinkles in the passing game. If Sanders avoids turnovers, then Oklahoma State should be able to play with a lead, and that will be the difference in the game. Will it be the difference for the final playoff spot? It's probably not much fun having a CFP berth at stake against Dave Aranda. Baylor's defense doesn't have elite numbers, but Aranda always has something to throw at opponents. Unfortunately for the Bears, quarterback Jerry Bohannon, dealing with the injury, didn't play last week. Oklahoma State's 4th-ranked defense can silence any hopes of an upset, especially if Bohannon is unavailable for this game. I got Oklahoma State winning either way. If Bohannon plays, Oklahoma State wins 30-23. If he doesn't play Bohannon, then it's 26-13. But either way, yes, professionally, I'm going with Oklahoma State. But personally, yes, I am going with Baylor. Because that would definitely help Notre Dame's cause if Baylor were to pull the upset. But I just don't see it happening. So there isn't much more to say on that. Let's move on to our next championship game. A 3 o'clock kickoff on Fox. It's the Mountain West championship game. The number 19 San Diego State Aztecs will be at home at Dignity Health Sports Park, formerly the StubHub Center in Carson City, and they're going to be hosting the Aggies of Utah State. A 3 o'clock kickoff, and this game will be over on Fox with Joe Davis, Brock Heward, and Bruce Feldman, and San Diego State opening up as a 6-point favorite. So, Michael Bullock, started with you. Who do you like in the Mountain West Championship?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one here. I mean, San Diego State. I mean, they are at home. They got a lot. They got a lot to prove in this one. So I'm going to go with San Diego State to win the Mountain West Conference Championship game. So, and then, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, it's yours.
Following a heart-wrenching departure from Arkansas State, Blake Anderson has turned Utah State into an immediate winner. San Diego State, though, is the deserving favorite here. Utah and Fresno State are the only teams to surpass 21 points on SDSU, which ranks 7th nationally in yards allowed to play. The offense isn't overwhelming, but the Aztecs can capitalize on Utah State's shaky pass defense to earn a tight victory in a low-scoring Mountain West Championship game. San Diego State wins. Final score 24-20. So, MF, your thoughts on the Mountain West title game?
I'm actually in agreement with you on this one, Florio. I do believe San Diego State should actually win this one. I just don't see any other way that this goes. So San Diego State wins. Bullock, it's yours.
He started it. So
sorry, back to you then.
Yep, back to me. And just wanted to check some things here. All right. We have one more game before we get to the big one here. We have the Sun Belt Championship game, which will be at 3:30 over on ESPN. The number 24 Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns, and they're going to be hosting, oh boy, they're going to be hosting Appalachian State in this Sun Belt Championship game. Cajun Field in Lafayette, Louisiana. And on that call will be Dave Patch, Dusty Dvoracek, and Tom Luganbill. And believe it or not, Appalachian State is opening up as a 3-point favorite in this game. Hard to believe, but it's true. Before he heads to Florida as Dan Mullen's replacement, Billy Napier will coach his final game at Louisiana Lafayette. Although his Raging Cajuns blasted App State 41-13 in the October meeting, they're actually the underdog in the Sun Belt title game. App State has surrendered only 31 points in its last 4 outings, and that defense can contain a UL offense that hasn't really had a great performance since mid-October. I'm calling for the upset here, guys. I'm going with Appalachian State to shock the world one more time. App State wins the Sun Belt 31-24. MF, what says you?
Oh, you're really tempting me to call for a disagreement on this, but I can't because of the fact that it is Appalachian State and because of the fact that they have done it so many times. And you know, I got to do it. I can't do it. I got to call it. App State wins. I wish I could call for the ups. I wish I could call and disagree with you, Florio, but you do make some very valid points here. So, yeah, App State wins. Bullock, is it unanimous or are you lone wolf in it?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on this one. I mean, Florio definitely made some pretty good points here. So, yeah, I got to go with Appalachian State as well. So there's nothing more to say. Let's move on, Florio.
And gentlemen, it's main event time. The game of the week. We have 2 championship games that'll be both kicking off at 4 o'clock. But we're starting, of course, with the big one. This is the game that we're all going to have the most vested interest in. The SEC championship game. The number 1 Maiden Georgia Bulldogs squaring off against the number 3 Alabama Crimson Tide, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia, on CBS. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, Jamie Erdahl, they will have it. Georgia opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. It is not often that Bama's the underdog, but in this case, they are, guys. They are. So,
and rightfully so.
Yep, and rightfully so. I 100% agree with that sentiment, MF. So there isn't much more to say. Well, MF, you can actually keep your mic on because you're starting this off. So here we go, man. As we always say, we got to channel our inner Jesse from WrestleMania 5. This is what the words main event were meant for, because this right here is the main event, brother. It don't get no bigger. Implications aplenty in this one.
This is going to be the one that will decide what happens in the college football playoff. This is going to determine everything. This will set up what will undoubtedly be a domino effect that could have multiple implications. You got the first game at 12, and we talked about the Big 12. This will be the biggest domino that drops, because this will determine everything. Because if Georgia wins, Alabama is out. And that opens the door for Cincinnati. That opens the door for Notre Dame. That opens the door for Oklahoma State. Because at that point, everything becomes very interesting. If Alabama wins, this is the worst case scenario for a lot of teams, because then Alabama gets in. Georgia will be in because this will be their first loss of the season. Then everything hinges on what happens with Cincinnati. The Big 12 is probably out. Notre Dame is probably out. And now everything focuses later on in the night with what happens to Michigan. And we'll get to Michigan a little bit later on tonight. This whole year, I've been saying that Georgia was on a mission to rewrite a lot of wrongs more than anything else. The two things that has always eluded them was the SEC title and the national championship. And the one team that has stood in their way every single time that this has happened was Alabama. Alabama has been the biggest thorn and the biggest problem for Georgia. And it goes like maybe 3 years back. And it's been like 3 or 4 years in a row where Bama has won because Georgia was always snake bit. Either they had a lead early, they lost it at the end. Or Alabama just outplays Georgia and dominates. This whole year has been a mission statement for Georgia to prove to the nation that they are the number one team in all the land. And we've seen glimpses of of the chinking of the armor on Alabama. First, it was A&M, and they lost that game. Yes, it was a last-second field goal, but they lost. And then last week, in the Iron Bowl, many people thought that Alabama should have lost that game, that Auburn had them, that they were dead to rights, that Auburn almost knocked out Alabama right out of the college football playoff altogether. But Bama stood. They withstood the pressure. They withstood the craziness and survived. Survived in 4 overtimes. Now you're going up against the number one team in the land, who, by all indications, has dominated, blown out, and even destroyed almost every team in their way. Where a team comes in where we're thinking, oh, they're going to give them problems, No. The Dogs have mauled them. The Bulldogs have mauled them. And now, this is the moment that Georgia's been waiting for. The SEC championship game against Alabama. And I know if you're Georgia, you want one thing and one thing only: to put the nail in the coffin of Alabama, denying them the SEC championship, and more importantly, to cement the fact that we will have a brand new national champion in 2021, 2022 by the end of that game in Atlanta on Saturday afternoon, going into the evening. Georgia has been so focused and so methodical about every single moment. They've thought of this game. They've thought of getting Alabama because they want to be the ones. They've heard everything about not winning the big one, not getting the opportunity, not winning games here, not winning games there, letting things get out of control, losing a battle here. They've heard it all. Choking away leads, not getting the opportunity, that they will never be the best team in the SEC, that it's Alabama's to lose. They've heard it. They feel it. They've had enough of it. For the first time that I can ever remember, Georgia will finally figure out the puzzle. They got all the weapons. Running game, passing, receivers, O-line, defense. They have it all, and they're better than Alabama. We've seen, if you put the eyeball test right now between these two teams, there's no comparison. Georgia wins the SEC championship 30-13. This will not be close at all. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Wow, I mean, yeah, Fletch really hyped it, and
Well, he's our hype man.
Yeah, that's why we like him as our hype man. And yeah, I think this is going to be close because I mean, look, it's Alabama, for goodness sakes, and plus, they have more to play for. The pressure's more on them than on Georgia because, like you said, if Alabama loses, we're guaranteed a new national champion because they will not be in the top four. But if Alabama wins, they'll be in. But I still think Georgia will definitely be in because of their record. So I think this is going to be as close as what Fletcher says here. So I'm going to go with Georgia to win, but I think this is going to be close. I'm going to go 30-27 is my final score. And I think it's going to be in overtime. That's how close I think it's going to be. Florio, it is yours.
It'll have to end within 2 overtimes, or else they'll have to play 2-point conversion PK the rest of the way from overtime 3 on. But anyways, Georgia is trying to become the 4th consecutive SEC team to complete a perfect regular season. The Bulldogs have been dominant on both sides of the ball with an offense that averages 40.7 points a game and a defense that surrenders 6.9 points a game. Georgia appears locked into a second college football playoff berth under Coach Kirby Smart. Alabama is trying to win the SEC championship for the 8th time under their coach Nick Saban and will look to avoid a second loss that would likely knock it out of college football playoff contention. Quarterback Bryce Young has the opportunity to make a Heisman statement against the best defense in the FBS. and the Crimson Tide have won their last 7 appearances in the SEC title game. This game will have a national championship feel to it because the winner will be favored to do just that. And here's everything you need to know. When it comes to trends, Alabama has won 6 straight meetings against Georgia, a streak that dates back to 2008. 5 of those 6 matchups were top 10 showdowns. The Crimson Tide is an underdog for the first time since Halloween, October 31st, 2015, an incredible streak of 92 games. The last time Alabama was an underdog was against Georgia, and the Crimson Tide won 38-10. And the Bulldogs are 8-4 against the spread this year, and they are 4-0 against the spread when the line is below 20 points this season. Here are the 3 things to watch for. 1, Bryce Young. Georgia's pass defense allows just 4.9 yards per attempt, but they haven't seen a quarterback like this in 2021. Young averages 9.3 yards per attempt, and he's been brilliant with a dynamic tandem of receivers in Jamison Williams, 1,261 yards and 13 touchdowns, and John Mechie III, 1,045 yards and 7 touchdowns. They will test the Georgia secondary led by Clemson transfer Darion Kendrick and safety Lewis Sine. Number 2, Georgia's running game. Quarterback Stetson Bennett has been productive in Georgia's offense, but he's had the help of a balanced rushing attack, led by Zamir White, 691 yards and 10 touchdowns, and James Cook, 581 yards and 7 touchdowns. The tandem isn't flashy, but they average 5.8 yards a carry combined and are part of a grinded-out philosophy that will test Alabama's run defense. And number 3, defensive studs. While this is seen as a chance for Young to make a Heisman statement, it could be a last-ditch campaign for Alabama linebacker Will Anderson Jr., who has 14.5 sacks and 30.5 tackles for loss. On the other side, Georgia defensive tackle Jordan Davis, a 330-pound force, has been the heart of the Bulldogs' defense. He may have his way against an Alabama offensive line that is not up to the usual Tide standard. There is a lot of NFL talent on both sides, especially on defense. Stat that matters, Stetson Bennett averages 10.9 yards per pass attempt, which ranks 2nd in the FBS. That running support allows for downfield passing to tight end Brock Bowers, 652 yards and 10 touchdowns, Ladd McConkey, 395 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Jermaine Burton, 376 yards, 4 touchdowns. All 3 top targets average more than 15 yards a catch, and if that happens against Alabama, then the Crimson Tide is in trouble. Alabama did allow 20 passing touchdowns this season. There is psychology at work here. Georgia has not beat Alabama on this stage with smart, and if Alabama jumps out to a first-quarter lead with its big play offense, then it could get real. Georgia, however, will stick with its game plan. Bennett threw 3 picks in last year's loss, but he learns from those mistakes and relies on that ground game. Georgia hangs on in the 4th quarter this time, despite a last-ditch rally from Young. If Alabama has the ball last and Georgia needs a stop to win, then who do you choose? We'll find out Saturday. The best version of Alabama's offense can survive Georgia's top-ranked defense. The problem is Alabama's offensive line has surrendered a combined 19 tackles for loss and 10 sacks in recent wins over Arkansas and Auburn. There's no evidence that the quote-unquote best version of the offense is ready to appear in Atlanta. Turnovers seem like the only thing that can ruin Georgia's pursuit of an SEC title. I'm going to make it unanimous. I have Georgia, but I agree with Michael Bullock. I think it's going to be a much closer game than MF thinks. But at the end, I do agree Georgia will win the SEC championship, get that monkey off their back, just like Michigan did a week ago. 27-20, Georgia finally gets the Bama monkey off their back, wins the SEC championship, and that's really all there is to say on that. So with that being said, we have 3 games left, and we move on to the other 4 o'clock championship game. Another one that we're also going to have a vested interest in. Let's just say we're going to be doing a lot of channel surfing between the SEC championship game at 4 o'clock and the other big game at 4 o'clock, the American Athletic Conference championship game. The number 4 Cincinnati Bearcats at home against the number 21 Houston Cougars. 4 o'clock on ABC. Cincinnati will be at their home Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati. And on the call for that one will be Joe Tessitore, Greg McElroy, and Katie George. And The spread favors Cincinnati. Cincinnati opening up as a 10.5-point favorite. I believe Michael Bullock starts this one off. So Bullock, here we go. Here's another team, just like Oklahoma State in the Big 12. Cincinnati, but especially Cincinnati, they control their own destiny. Win and they're in. But if they lose, then what?
Man, this to me, without a shadow of a doubt, is the biggest game in the history of that school. I mean, right now they're in that last spot for the college football playoff. Plain simple, win and you're in. If they lose, I hate to say it, I mean, I think they're going to be out unless they get some major help in order for that to happen. So Cincinnati, to me, they need to take care of their business at home. They need to just get the win, and you've already sealed your spot in the college football playoff. You need to show the world why you are worthy of being in that college football playoff with the way they're playing. So I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bearcats to win this one. So really nothing more for me to say. So Florio, it's plain simple. They just got to do their job, win, and they're in. If not, the only way I see them getting in is if they get a lot of help. Because you know the committee's not going to bail them on this one. So Florio, it's yours.
All right, I'm right here. All right. Let's see. Number 4, Cincinnati hopes to complete its case for the college football playoff in a battle against number 21 Houston in the AAC championship game on Saturday. The Bearcats already hold the highest ranking by a group of 5 team in the playoff era and capped off their second consecutive undefeated regular season with a 35-13 demolition of 7-5 East Carolina behind 136 yards receiving from senior Alec Pierce. Houston has also been dominant in 2021, winning 8 of its games by double figures. In the final AAC game against Memphis, the Cougars cruised 31-13 behind a 7-catch, 100-yard receiving game from star receiver Nathaniel Tank Dell. Quarterback Clayton Tune improved dramatically in 2021, jumping to 69% completion, clearing 3,000 passing yards, and adding 28 total touchdowns. The Bearcats should theoretically slide into the playoff with a win, while Houston could likely steal the group of 5's guaranteed New Year's 6 slot with a win. The battle also pits future Big 12 opponents against each other years before the end of the conference. Houston holds a 15-12 edge all time between these two teams, but the Bearcats crushed UH 38-10 behind 342 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns in 2020. Here are the 3 things you need to know about this game. Number 1, dominant champions. Since Houston lost to Texas Tech in the opener, the Cougars have been far and away the best team in the AAC, not named Cincinnati. The teams have combined to win 23 games since that opener and blow through conference play. While much has been written about Cincinnati's success, Houston has won 4 straight games by double digits, dating back to a 44-37 win over then number 19 SMU. It's a true heavyweight title fight. 2, defensive battle. Houston and Cincinnati rank among the best defenses in college football. The teams rank number 1 and number 2 in total defense, and the reverse 1 and 2 in scoring defense. Cincinnati cornerbacks Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant, not to be confused with the late great, but Kobe Bryant rank among the best in the sport. But Houston receiver Nathaniel Dell will provide one of the toughest tests yet. Dell posted 1,027 yards receiving and 11 touchdowns in a breakout season. On the other side, Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder will challenge a UH pass rush that ranks number 3 nationally in sacks ahead of Georgia. And number 3, award hopefuls. While Ridder and even Gardner should be considered for the Heisman Trophy, the best Heisman contender in the game is on the opposite sideline. Houston cornerback Marcus Jones is having a truly monstrous season. In addition to ranking number 4 nationally in coverage grade among corners, Jones has 12 passes defended, 5 interceptions, 2 punt returns for touchdowns, and 2 kick returns for touchdowns. He even has a receiving touchdown for good measure. It's difficult for a cornerback to contend for national awards, but Jones should be on everyone's All-America radar and maybe a lock for the Horning Award. Every time Cincinnati has been presented with a showcase opportunity, it's responded with its best performances. Cincinnati beat number 6 Notre Dame by 11 points and SMU by a whopping 34 points. Houston is one of the best teams on Cincinnati's schedule, but don't expect the Bearcats to pass an opportunity to make a national statement. In easily the biggest G5 game of the weekend, Cincinnati has a trip to the college football playoff at stake, win the AAC crown, and the Bearcats need a loss from any of Michigan, Alabama, or Oklahoma State to unquestionably earn a spot. Does it happen? Yes. Will it be comfortable? No. Although the Bearcats own 10 double-digit wins, they have an unsettling habit of not playing a strong second half. Houston and its 9th-ranked scoring offense are built to capitalize on a late window and take Cincinnati to the wire. High-scoring game, but I think Cincinnati will eke it out. Final score, 38-34. Cincinnati defeats Houston in a 5-star Shakespearean drama classic shootout at Nippert Stadium. So there isn't much more to say, MF. Like I told Bullock, just like with Oklahoma State, Cincinnati controls their own destiny. Winning, they're in. If they lose, then what?
Yeah, like Mike Bullock said too, if they lose, they don't get in, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people are wondering is, like we said, the Power Five has always been the most powerful group. Cincinnati is one of the what they call the group of 5. If they win this game, they are about to do the unthinkable. A group of 5 school, a non-Power 5 school is on the verge of breaking the glass ceiling. The little brother is about to be in the big table if they win this game. That's the legitimate, the real thing. You win this game, you're playing for the national championship. You're in the college football playoff, the CFP. You made it. You're in. No other team has come this close to this moment. And we always talk about the Boise States. We talk about University of Central Florida, UCF. They came dangerously close one year. Cincinnati has come dangerously close. And the thing is, they always end up on the New Year's 6, but they never made it to this level. Cincinnati is 1 win away from breaking the glass ceiling. The committee will have no choice but to put them in if they win on Saturday. And I believe they will. And again, the thing is that Cincinnati has to know that you got to win by style points. So, no, Anthony, I disagree with you on this one. Again. And it's not that I think Cincinnati's going to win the game, no. But I think the margin is going to be bigger because they know the committee is going to try everything in their power to try to say, oh, Cincinnati doesn't deserve it over an Oklahoma State or a Notre Dame or no. Cincinnati, go out there and make a statement. Blow Houston out and destroy any conceived notion that you don't belong. This is not going to be this is going to be a laugher. This isn't going to be close. 38-17, Cincinnati wins because they need to get that type of score line in order to get into the college football playoff. Florio, it's yours.
We got 2 games left, gentlemen, and this next one, well, let's just say out of all these games, this is the game for these 2 guys, for good old MF Michael Fletcher and for Michael Bullock. This is the game they're going to have the most vested interest in, as am I, other than Georgia and Bama, of course, and, well, a lot of these games really, but this is their game right here. we have 2 primetime championship games, and we're going to start it off with the Big Ten championship game. The number 2, you heard it, number 2, Michigan Wolverines squaring off against the number 13 Iowa Hawkeyes, Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana, to host the Big Ten championship game. And we know who's working this one as always. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, the All-American girl, Jenny Taft. And very good news for you, gentlemen. Michigan opening up as a double-digit favorite. Michigan opening up as an 11-point favorite in this Big Ten championship game. So, I don't know what else there is to say except we're going to dive right on in. And all right, so here we go. Michigan and Iowa, Big Ten championship. I'll give these guys a moment, and I'll take this for a spin to start it. Number 2, Michigan, and number 13, Iowa meet in the Big Ten championship game on Saturday night in Indianapolis to decide the conference champion and a possible college football playoff berth. The Wolverines come into the game off what is easily the biggest win for the program in more than a decade, and certainly the Jim Harbaugh era, as it beat rival Ohio State 42-27 in Ann Arbor. It was Michigan's first win over the hated Buckeyes since 2011 and only the 4th time since 2000. Still, the Wolverines could only celebrate the win for so long, because if they want to finish the job and earn their first ever berth in the college football playoff, they need to get by a tough Iowa team. The Hawkeyes started the season strong, opening 6-0 and reaching the number 2 spot in the AP poll before losing consecutive games against Purdue and Wisconsin. Those 2 losses not only knocked the Hawkeyes out of playoff consideration themselves, but nearly cost them a chance to win the Big Ten as well. The Hawkeyes have won 4 straight since, including a dramatic and unlikely comeback against Nebraska last Friday. That win, followed by Wisconsin's loss to Minnesota the next day, clinched Iowa's trip to Indianapolis. While it's improbable the Hawkeyes can reach the playoff, a win in this game would send them to the Rose Bowl. The 3 things we need to know. Number 1, well, we already know this, but for those of you who may not, this is Michigan's first Big Ten championship appearance. This might come as something of a surprise, considering Michigan's history within both the Big Ten and the history of college football. But the school with the second most wins in college football history, 949 to Alabama's 954, has never played for a Big Ten title in the championship game era. The first Big Ten championship was in 2011 and was played between Wisconsin and rival Michigan State. It was the first of 3 appearances for the Spartans, and Michigan is the 8th Big Ten team to reach the game. The Wolverines are looking to win their first Big Ten title since splitting it in 2004. This will be Iowa's second appearance in the game after losing to Michigan State 16-13 in 2015. The Hawkeyes are hoping to win their first conference championship since, yes, that's right, 2004, when the Hawkeyes and Wolverines were co-champions. Number 2, Hassan Haskins is 1 touchdown away from setting a Michigan record. Haskins spent the bulk of the season splitting carries with Blake Corum, but with Corum banged up a little over the last month, he's taken on a larger role and excelled. Haskins rushed for 571 yards and 8 touchdowns in 4 November games, including 5 touchdowns in last week's upset win over rival Ohio State. This season, Haskins now has 18 rushing touchdowns, tying it for second all-time in Michigan history with Anthony Thomas in 2000 and Chris Perry in 2003. If Haskins scores a rushing touchdown against Iowa, he will tie Ron Johnson, who rushed for 19 in 1968. 2 more, either against Iowa or in a bowl game, and Haskins will set a new school record. And number 3, Iowa's defense has forced 28 turnovers this season. The Hawkeyes' defense lives in turnovers, and they do it consistently. The 28 forced turnovers in 2021 are the 3rd most in the country, behind only Cincinnati with 32 and Middle Tennessee with 31. They're also an excellent indicator of how a game will end for the Hawkeyes. Of the 28 forced turnovers, 27 have come in Iowa's 10 wins, 2.7 a game, meaning only 1 has come in its 2 losses. It makes sense as the Hawkeyes do not have an explosive offense and have a much easier time scoring points when their defense gives them a short field. It's hard. It is very hard for me to go against the Wolverines here. It's not that I don't have plenty of respect for the Hawkeyes. It's that this is a bad matchup for them. Michigan is essentially Iowa on steroids. It has an excellent defense and strong special teams. But where the two differ most is on offense. Michigan has one, Iowa doesn't. Given Iowa's inability to move the ball this year, it's hard for me to buy into the idea they'll suddenly find success against a Michigan defense that held an explosive Ohio State offense in check. Plus, Iowa thrives on turnovers, and Michigan has turned the ball over only 9 times. Only 5 teams in the country have fewer. Lay it with the maize and blue. So with that, which running game will be most effective? The likely answer is Michigan, which has a sturdy defense and just shredded Ohio State for 297 yards. Iowa's defense is excellent, but the Hawkeyes' run-first attack is 113th in yards per attempt, and they'll just keep leaning on the ground game regardless of its performance. Michigan wins the Big Ten championship and heads to the college football playoff for the first time ever. 28-17, Michigan knocks off Iowa and continues this magical, out-of-nowhere season. We thought it was going to be another so-so year for these guys. Oh, no. They're one win away from uncharted territory and breaking their own glass ceiling. And I want it so bad for these guys, let me tell you. So, 28-17, Michigan wins. And now the Michigan superfan, good old MF Michael Fletcher. I mean, I know you're still sulking over the biggest Michigan win in forever, finally getting the Ohio State monkey off your back. But now, but even with that, the job is still not done. All you got to do, beat Iowa Saturday night in Indy, and you're off to uncharted territory.
Yeah. You said it. We were basking in the glory of it for maybe a day or two, but then now we're back to business, and that's to finish the job, because that's what the ultimate goal was that we needed it to finish what we started. Beating Ohio State was one thing, but if you know Michigan, like I know Michigan, like Mike Bullock knows Michigan, there's 3 things you need to do in order to be considered, the greatest team ever. Beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten championship, and go on to win the national title. At least we can check mark the Ohio State one right off the board. On Saturday, we get a chance to check off the Big Ten title. And this is the reason why that we wanted this. And a lot of people's like, what was it going to look like, facing off? Is it easy? Is it hard? What were we going to do? I was a really good team. And you absolutely brought some very valid points, Floyo. But like you said, if Michigan establishes the running game like they didn't against Ohio State, there's nobody that stops Michigan from winning the Big Ten championship, because of the fact that I do believe that they will. And the thing is, Cade McNamara just got to be a game manager. Haskins is the guy now. He is the heart and soul of Michigan. He's now a Michigan legend after what he did to Ohio State. After what he did to Ohio State, getting them for 5 touchdowns, you're a Michigan legend. And you will be in the lore of Michigan football forever for what you did in that game last Saturday, son. So, trust me, any place you want to go in the state of Michigan, you're probably getting free meals for life in Ann Arbor. You are now a hero to the Michigan faithful because of what you did. You'll be an even bigger hero if you should bring the Big Ten championship to Ann Arbor on Saturday night. So I do believe Michigan will win this. And the reason why, like you said, Anthony, Jim Harbaugh is been in these type of moments, and he delivers in these clutch opportunities. The running game, game control, more moving the clock, being methodical, down the field, long drives, dragging the clock out, then the defense, bringing the blitzes, bringing pressure, man-to-man, zone, whatever, making life uncomfortable for Iowa. If they decide they're going to run the football, you got one of the best run-stopping defenses in college football. I mean, I think they're in the top 30 or like they have to be in like the top half, a top 25 defense in run defense. And if you try to throw it on them, we got ball hawks on the field. So whatever the case may be, yes, Michigan, protect the football. Iowa, the Hawkeyes are ball hawks. They will try to strip. They will try to rip it. They will try to intercept, like you said. Defensively, when you try to deal with Iowa's defense, proceed with caution. Make sure to protect the football and don't lose it. That's the only thing that you got to worry about with Iowa. Their defense is ferocious, and they will try to make this a little scarier than what it should be. At the end, I do believe Michigan will figure it out. They'll get the early lead, and they will use that clock and play to their strengths. Running the football, McNamara just has to throw it, dink and dunk. Doesn't have to go for the home run ball. He can if he wants to, but if I were you, don't do it. Play within the system. Do the same things that you did against Ohio State, and you're walking out Big Ten champions. 31-20. Michigan wins the Big Ten. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, the thing is, can Michigan, I mean, put what happened last week aside quickly enough to keep the momentum going? And I think the early stages of the game is going to determine that. But I think the key here is, can the offensive line do what they did last week again this week? And can Hassan Haskins have another pretty damn good game? And also, can Hutchinson put some pressure? So, yeah, I mean, because Iowa, they're a scrappy bunch, and they will definitely give Michigan some fits throughout, but I think eventually Michigan will get the job done. So Michigan wins the Big Ten championship. Florio, it is yours.
And the final game of the night and of the season here, the ACC championship game, also at 8 o'clock over on ABC. The number 15 Pittsburgh Panthers squaring off against the number 16 Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. And on the call for this game on ABC, it'll be Mark Jones, Robert Griffin III, and Quint Kessenich. And Pittsburgh opening up as a 3-point favorite. So MF, ACC championship, number 15 Pittsburgh, number 16 Wake Forest. Who takes it in Charlotte?
Man, this is the toughest game of them all because I've been very hard on Wake lately. They haven't really performed in the way that they were earlier. Pittsburgh just been lying in the weeds. Nobody's really talked about much about Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has been rising lately. I think Pittsburgh's going to do it. I think they pull it off. So, yeah, Pittsburgh wins it. I really think there's really nothing more to add. So, Michael Bullock, I give it to you. I got Pittsburgh winning.
Yeah, I mean, Wake Forest, I mean, they've struggled lately, and I basically think Pittsburgh can do it. I mean, I think they can win the ACC championship, and so I'm with Fletch on this one. So Florio, it is yours.
All right. Number 15, Pittsburgh, and number 16, Wake Forest, have each experienced high marks of success this season with 10-win campaigns in the regular season and outright division titles. However, the final step can sometimes be the toughest as both teams battle for the ACC championship on Saturday night in Charlotte. This will mark the second ever ACC championship game appearance for both teams, with Pitt making the title game in 2018 before losing to eventual national champion Clemson, and Wake Forest making its first return since winning the conference championship in 2006. Taking center stage in this game will be two quarterbacks that not only led the way in the ACC, but rank among the most prolific in the nation. Pittsburgh's Kenny Pickett is in the mix for the Heisman Trophy heading into championship weekend, and Wake Forest's Sam Hartman would have been in the mix for first-team All-ACC quarterback if not for the presence of the Pickett in the same league. The odds makers are clearly expecting plenty of offense with a total set above 70, and the results from both teams suggest that a back and forth decided in the 30s or 40s would be in line with their 2021 seasons. So while neither team enters Saturday night with a real shot at the college football playoff, a conference championship and a spot in the New Year's Six provide plenty of intrigue going into this matchup. The three things we need to know. Number one, award season sweep for both teams. Pickett is in the running for the Heisman Trophy, but he's already claimed a number of prestigious honors at the conference level, including All ACC First Team, Offensive Player of the Year, and Player of the Year. Pitt, as a team, led all schools with 12 All ACC selections when the conference did its end-of-year honors, with wide receiver Jordan Addison and defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey also getting first-team honors. Wake Forest had its own strong representation that included Sam Hartman earning second-team honors at the quarterback position, and most notably saw Dave Clawson win ACC Coach of the Year. Number two, recipe for a shootout takes more than quarterbacks. These are two of the top 11 passing offenses in the country, but the reason so many are expecting fireworks is because of the performance of both defenses as well. Pitt ranks outside the top 100 nationally in passing defense, and Wake Forest ranks outside the top 100 nationally in rushing defense. Even taking all things into consideration for total defense in terms of yards of play, neither team is in the top 40. Coach Pat Narduzzi is known for having NFL-bound defensive backs and coaching up strong secondaries, but the shootout style of the Panthers game, due like Wake Forest in part to how quickly and prolifically the offense can score, has really tested the defense's ability to hold up against explosive plays for four quarters. And number three, a unique ACC champion will be crowned. No matter which team wins on Saturday night, it will be the first non-Clemson, non-Florida State ACC football champion since 2010. This marks the first time that the ACC championship game has not included Clemson or Florida State since Virginia Tech beat Boston College in 2008. First held in 2005, the ACC title has a relatively short history, but it's one that's been dominated by powers that aren't in attendance here in 2021. In this season that's been of surprises all across college football, the ACC has played its part as well, with a unique title game here at the end. The sensible pick is Pitt because Kenny Pickett has the edge at quarterback, and the Panthers have been better when needed on the defensive side of the ball. But there's something special to the wild ride that the Demon Deacons have been on here in 2021 that may better prepare them for a tense, high-scoring shootout. But while the Big Ten championship game figures to be a low-scoring tilt, Pitt and Wake Forest might break a scoreboard. Neither team is a college football playoff contender, so the stakes relative to the Big 12, SEC, and Big 10 are low. But this should be the most entertaining championship game on Saturday. Pitt has at least played a little defense this season, allowing 23.3 points a game. Wake Forest has ceded 36.5 an outing to unspectacular competition since the beginning of October. So Pittsburgh should hold a slight edge in this matchup. I'm going with Pittsburgh to win the ACC championship. My final score, high-scoring affair, 45-38. Pittsburgh knocks off Wake to win the ACC championship. And with that, that concludes another season of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. We want to thank you all so very, very much for tuning in all season long. We will be back, however, in a few weeks when we preview the New Year's Six bowl games, which include, of course, the two college football playoff semifinal games. So date and time for that to be determined. But for right now, this is the season finale of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. And with that being said, we will next be with you tomorrow night over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, where we will review Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage, and of course our preview of NXT War Games. Saturday night, Week 13 of NFL Saturday, and of course, we got a lot of great games on tap, but of course, the headline game, obviously the game of the week without question, the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. First place in the AFC East to the winner. And you know we're going to break that down as only we can, as well as all the other games on tap for Week 13. Sunday, in addition to our NXT War Games recap, we're gonna have a unique show. We're not only going to do that, but we're also going to address the college football playoff selection. And we'll also maybe, we'll throw out some notable bowl games to keep an eye on during bowl season, as those games will be announced as well. And then Monday, we do it all over again with Ridiculously Raw, Wednesday Night Mayhem, and then we take it from there. So that'll do it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk at 11 p.m. over on MF's channel, Raceway 95, this is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Dee Woodson, and the man who put it all together in the first place, the Yankee Messiah 401, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune Force style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching the season finale of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com for everybody who has been a part of this one. For now, Anthony Florio. So long. And bye, everybody. Bye.